Hey, Brian and Rachel Goulet here of gouletpens.com, here for episode number 40 of Goulet Q&A. We're doing it together this week because the topic is Goulet values. Now, we just launched our values last week, mission statement, purpose, vision, all that stuff. So we kind of just lumped it all together and called it Goulet values.
Culture, all
Just
that good
culture,
stuff.
yeah, Goulet culture, exactly.
Do you want to share with everyone what's going on with you?
Yeah, okay, so you probably noticed that I look like, I just went through heck and back. And in a way I did. Okay, so basically yesterday...
I mean, yes and no.
Yesterday, I was riding my bike, and it was a little bit wet, and I just took a turn a little too fast.
On our driveway.
In our driveway, coming back from my ride, and my front wheel slipped out from under me, and I just slid for about 20 feet on my arm.
Road rash.
Road rash, pretty bad. But it's just superficial stuff, you know. We actually, Crystal, who's a team member that works in our warehouse, she's actually a registered nurse. So it was kind of convenient. So she checked me out, helped wrap me up.
I did my best, but it was not pretty.
It's okay. That's all right.
We also hadn't really updated our medical supplies in a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't have major things like this that happen.
Yeah,
really
I had
often,
some gauze and I had all this tape all over the place. He came in and everyone's like, "Did you get a tattoo?" It's like, no.
Yeah, we have a lot of people with tattoos around here. That's Richmond.
It's not as taboo as it used to be.
Richmond, Virginia is a pretty
we don't have any
tattooed place. No, we don't, but a lot of our team does.
Anyway.
So
then Crystal helped him get
Crystal
dressed
wrapped me
appropriately
up.
with nice blue.
Yeah. I was so stoked that we found
It's a kid's
Goulet
vintage.
blue. It is, but the adult ones, it's the same thing.
I know.
They just advertise it as a kid.
It's blue.
Whatever. It's blue. I was really excited because they had purple and black and all these other things, and I was like,
Purple's
not
nice.
Really doing it. Yeah, but I don't want to wear purple.
No, I know
vintage,
you don't want. I like purple.
That's all right. Okay. Anyway, so
I look very
that's
short
kind of
compared to you today.
Well, I can scoot down a little bit. There. Is that better?
Sure.
Get on the same plane. Okay, so anyway, so that's what's up with my arm. So I'm okay, don't freak out. But I'm probably not going to have this, in many of my future videos. This is a couple of days I got to have this on here. And then you'll get to see this big, disgusting rash. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so we get a lot of good questions. These are all values-driven ones. I had mentioned last week that I was going to try to include some other people. We're going to try to do that, but it's been just a crazy week for us, so forgive me if I'm not able to do
We're
that.
in the middle of hiring and moving some folks around internally, so it's...
We've got some folks that are going on vacations and stuff. We're having to backfill. It's really just crazy. So, forgive me there, but we were thankfully able to at least have the two of us doing this. So, anyway, first question we have from Kevin L. in an email. From the outside, it appears quite evident that the values of your company and
What
the
the
team...
values...
Okay, yeah, sorry. From the outside, it appears quite evident what the values of your company are, and the team are. So why the need to put it down on paper and spend the time doing it? That's a great point.
And we didn't do it for a long time for that reason. We're
4.5 years.
Our philosophy was we're living it, we're doing it.
Live by example.
Why do we need to write it down? It's just we're doing it.
Yeah. So there's a couple of reasons why we decided to do it. Number one is that when we were smaller, we were working very closely, kind of hand in hand with everybody on our team, literally within a close proximity.
Literally.
Yeah. So it was really easy for our values to kind of be lived out and represented to new folks that would come on board.
And as we hired folks, finding like-minded people.
Sure. But as we get bigger and we're spending less time one-on-one with each individual, it's relying more on everyone else to be able to live that out. And that's great, but it makes it a little bit harder for someone to really feel what we have going on here. It takes a little bit longer. And that's one thing, on the inside. You look confused.
Yeah, it's I'm not quite sure where you're going with this. Because I would go with a different direction.
Okay.
I would say it's for those who haven't been living, breathing, experiencing it. It's a way to communicate so that they get an impression of what we're all about before they're immersed in the culture. So whether that's a new hire who's part of the Goulet culture or a prospective customer, someone visiting our website for the first time, if you haven't experienced Goulet, you don't know what it's all about. If you haven't worked here, and been here long enough, you don't know how we do things.
Right.
So writing it down is a way to communicate it to someone who's brand new.
I was going to get to that part.
Well, you lost me. So I figure if you lost me, you might have lost some other people.
It's very possible. Very possible. We're getting into a really just kind of cloudy area here with all this stuff. And that's part of the reason why we felt we needed to clarify it. You would think well, you're already living it out. You just wrote it down. Not a big deal, right? Oh my gosh. It was such an intense process of actually writing down the things that are most important to us and that we live out.
I think
way harder than you might think.
I think a lot of the key of it too is not just for new people, but thinking to the future. Like we've grown and we've changed a lot in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think it was really important that, you know, I've seen companies as they grow, it changes who they are, or as they become more successful or things like that. So it's really important to have something to true back to. Something that was solidified, that everybody agreed on, that the definition was clear. So when we say things like work hard, well, what does that mean? Like we've always just lived it out. Yeah. Well, is it, you know, work hard, play hard, like you're here till, you know, 10 o'clock at night, work hard? Or is it just, you know, like what does that mean?
Exactly.
So defining it, I think, was really important so that as we grow, as we change, and, you know, we can true back to that.
Exactly. And it's something...
And we're all on the same page. There's no, and fuzziness.
As we've grown, too, and our company has seen success, the number of opportunities that have been opened up to us become greater and more diverse. Which is a great problem. Great problem. It's more diverse. Well, it is a great problem, but it is a problem.
Is it bad that as we do motions, I'm like, someone's going to freeze us and make us into a meme? So it's like, I don't want to move.
Oh, no. I intentionally told, like, Sarah and Tyler, hey, find really funny, like, snapshots, and let's meme it for, like, Facebook as we post a Q&A or something. So maybe we'll try that this week. I don't know. Anyway, so, yeah, that'll definitely happen. But, yeah, so as we have more opportunities, whether it's, you know, calligraphy or rollerballs or, you know,
manufacturing our own Goulet
manufacturing stuff. It
or
could
a
be
new vendor.
high-end stuff, limited edition things. You know, there's a lot of different opportunities.
New people to bring into the fold, new vendors to work with.
Well, I'm talking even just like product offerings, directions our companies could go. We could really spread ourselves thin if we don't have a clear direction of where we're trying to go. Mm-hmm. So
that's more like where the mission and the vision come in.
Right.
The values are more like, how do we do things the Goulet way?
Yeah.
And the mission and the vision really keep us like, okay, who are we as a company? Where are we going? How do we true back to this? Mm-hmm. And I think we talk about this later on, but like intentionally choosing writing instruments or writing enthusiasts versus fountain pens, and we'll touch on that a little bit.
Right, exactly. So that's why it seems like something that...
It's deceptively simple.
It seems redundant to have to write it down.
It's true, because we're living it. Like... We're doing it.
But that's part of the, and we can say now, having gone through that process, it has unified our team like you would not believe.
This is absolutely true.
So just that aspect of it alone has been a rewarding part of the process. Everybody around here is on the same page. We're all talking, using the same language, encouraging each other like never before. And so that alone is the reason enough to do it. And that's kind of been...
Crystal helping you out with your arm yesterday.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know? She would have done that anyway.
Have we ever talked about our coupons?
We mention it in the values on the website.
Yeah, we have these little coupon cards that we hand out internally. Basically, when someone does something above and beyond, whether it's a good idea or a great catch, or really, you know, living out the values in a way that's above and beyond, we give them a little coupon card. So it has, you know, their name, who gave it the date, and on the back we have, you know, what value they exemplified. Yep. So, for example, yesterday, Crystal taking time, you know, away from the warehouse to help bandage Brian's arm and give him advice and that sort of stuff. That's care.
That's care. So
that's care all the way.
Care, gave it to her, and then what happens with these coupons? You take the coupon, and we have all these little jars.
There's like typically like 4 or 5 at once. They're like basically like company team prize incentives. Yeah. So, and it has a point value assigned to it, which is, you know, the number of coupons. Mm-hmm. So once we get 50 or 80 or 10 or whatever it is, then we do whatever it is. Yeah. Recently, we earned another pancake breakfast.
Pancake breakfast. So I'm going to cook pancakes for everybody.
Next week.
Yeah. And then let's see here. What are some of the other things? Like a fruit of the month club, you know.
We're working towards that.
We'll get like fresh fruit that'll be delivered to the office and everybody can enjoy. So it's like
we've done outings, you know, going to a movie. We've gone out to lunch. Yeah, a lot of food related.
We did like hibachi lunch.
Food.
Yeah, we like food. Yeah, definitely like company lunch kind of thing. So it's basically
the Keurig machine.
It helps to reinforce kind of like the individual recognition and expressing gratitude on our part. But also the reward is that the whole team benefits from everybody helping each other out. So it was really kind of a neat little thing.
But we've had the coupons for a while, but it was always just generic, like, hey, good idea, you know, that sort of thing. But once we came up with the values, then we redesigned the card to say, okay, what value did you exemplify? Yeah. So, you know, if it's a great idea, then maybe that's a work hard, you know, sort of thing.
Right.
a great catch. Like, oh, you care, your attention to detail, you're serving, or whatever it is.
Of course, we did find that there's an infinite loop in the process with express gratitude, because the very act of handing out a coupon is expressing gratitude. So you could then hand someone a coupon for handing someone a coupon.
Thank you for, So you got to draw a line somewhere.
I'll do it, yeah. Okay. All right, so hopefully that covers your question there, Kevin. Patrick D. on Facebook said, what are some of the unique traits that make up a Goulet team member? They originally said employee in the question, but I changed it to team member because that's how we refer to everybody.
Here.
Much like fountain pen users are a unique bunch, I have to think that those working for a pen and paper company are likely to be a pretty fascinating lot.
Well, let me preface this in saying, I just got through like a round of interviews and stuff. I have never hired someone who came from a pen-loving background, like fountain pen loving. There's folks here.
We have in the past.
There's like one.
Not many though.
But slight. Like, so I don't want to, like, how do I say this? Like, we're not choosing from among the fountain pen community of choosing to work here, which I know would be a lot of people's dream jobs.
Right.
It's really open to, anyone who's qualified to do the job, and then they learn on the job. And I'll tell you also a little secret. I actually like it because we started out not knowing anything about fountain pens.
Yep.
And applicants sometimes get really like nervous applying. Like, I don't know anything about fountain pens. Like, it is okay.
That's good.
It's almost, and I could go either way, of course, if it's the right background. But
it's almost an advantage.
Then you're learning on the job. And that's exactly how we started out. We've learned from you. You've taught us, and we kind of reciprocate the education back and forth. So it makes us a lot more empathetic towards newer customers. It's not like, you don't know what a converter is? Come on. Well, it's like, you know what? I remember when you didn't know the difference between a cartridge and a converter. Yeah. I know how hard how do I remove this nib? We might get the same question 10 times a day, every single day. But remembering that each person, and this is like, I'm spewing values here, each person is a unique individual human being with a unique experience, one-on-one interaction with us. So treating, we remember what it's like to be new.
Absolutely.
And that's something I hope we never lose.
Yeah.
Okay.
We work really hard. Well, and for us, we're like immersed in it even more than the rest of our team. So for we have to constantly have it on our mind, like, what was it like when we were new?
Well, I have every single SKU memorized. Like, I can spit off specs about almost every single SKU. Now we have like 3,000, so it's getting a little more difficult.
Yeah.
For a while, I can at least ballpark it within like a digit if it's close.
It's pretty incredible.
I know like specs in and out, but I'm not as good with the troubleshooting. You're a lot better at the troubleshooting, but you can't remember like product codes.
It's not one of my strengths. Yeah.
So we help each other. Anyway, going back to our team, we do have a pretty unique group. That's for sure.
Yeah. Let's get off that tangent. You get a point score for the tangent on that one.
I already went on a tangent earlier with someone else.
So yes. I would say we have a rather unique group, but I don't think the unique group that we have here necessarily lines up exactly with the uniqueness of the fountain pen community in general. I think everybody who works here learns to appreciate the fountain pen community and the pens and the products and all that kind of stuff. But it's a little bit different working here than it is just being an enthusiast and loving the products. They often overlap, but
I think people fall in love once they get here. It's like drinking the Kool-Aid a bit,
Right, exactly. So,
and I say that like that sounds like a sketchy, like sleazy thing. I just mean like they genuinely fall in love with it because they're surrounded by it.
Right.
How can you not?
So we've actually done several different company-wide assessments to try to, we knew like last year this time, as soon as we were like,
personality
we
assessments?
need to define our culture. How do we do that? And so we got onto this, Dave Ramsey kick with Entree Leadership. That's been very influential with us. We've changed a lot of our hiring process because of that. We've implemented a lot of things. One of the things we did was implement the DISC personality profile. That's a fairly common, popular profiling thing that a lot of you probably heard of before. But we've done that for an entire company, and we do that for every candidate that we bring in for an interview. So that's something that really helps us to get to know each other, get to know
really about
how we communicate with each other.
Communication styles, personality types. So someone like me, we're both very high Ds, if you're familiar with
very directive.
So we're very direct to the point. I'm more task-oriented than people-oriented. It's not that I don't love people. It's just when I approach a problem, I'm thinking more of the things that need to be done rather than the feelings involved, and that to me is like the squishy stuff that it just doesn't come as naturally to me.
Right, but we appreciate that aspect in a lot of others.
We've hired those who that is their strength, so that we complement each other as a team.
Yeah.
Folks who are very cautious and very detail oriented. They're fantastic at quality control and checking for bottom shelf stuff. And other folks who, might not be as cautious, but they're very creative, and they can come up with brand new ideas and things like that.
So the disc profile is part of it. We also recently did StrengthsFinder. I'm sure some of you have probably heard of that one. That one actually overlaps a little bit with the disc. So that was kind of nice to have both. But that is one that's a little more individualistic. But it helps people
if you're familiar with that and you're curious, Brian's number one was futuristic.
Futuristic. So I'm thinking like, what's the potential? Where could we go? What do we do? And I see visions of where we could be going in the future.
He adores the white space that it's probably in my top 10, but it's definitely not up there.
What
Mine
was
is
your number one?
Maximizer.
Maximizer, that's
so
right.
I take strengths of others and take something from great to amazing.
Yeah.
I don't like mediocre. I like amazing.
Right.
Like all the cool stuff I've been working on.
Rachel and I have a lot of overlap in our StrengthsFinder and in our disc.
We both have Achiever. We both have Activator, which is taking stuff from thought to action. So, and I think one of my other ones is Significance. I just like doing a lot of really great, awesome things.
She just wants to get things started, do amazing, incredible things all the time.
Is
that so much to ask?
Yeah.
And mine was futuristic, command. So
right for his role.
I not only like to get things done, but I take charge, and I'm not afraid to stir up a little controversy to get to the root of it and kind of wring it out. You know what I mean?
And then we have other folks like their number one is like harmony, and they don't like
and empathy
conflict
and stuff like
things
that,
like that, which is awesome. But
oh, no wonder I tend to intimidate people sometimes.
but the reason we have these assessments is to learn that about ourselves, and not just like, I'm great and you're not, or like I'm better than you, it's more like, you know what? I really come to appreciate that this person is so empathetic, or this person really is so, treats people like individuals, or really is an includer. They really like making sure everyone's. You need all of that. And the same with the disc. The same with that. It's the best company, the best teams are where people's strengths come together and complement each other. I don't want everyone to be a leader. I don't want everyone to be a follower. You need both.
Well,
too many chefs in the kitchen sort of thing.
What we really latched onto with kind of StrengthsFinder, disc, and all that stuff is like, we all have our strengths, and rather than saying, the way I'm doing it is right, you need to be more like me, what we've learned through all this is most everybody else at our company is not like us. And that's actually probably a good thing.
I don't
think it would really be intense if it was the two of us.
I couldn't manage myself, and I don't think I could manage you.
I've never even worked like a real job because I'm so unmanageable. You know what I mean?
I've been told in the past I'm unmanageable. Usually not till after I've left, but that it all makes sense. And I used to think the problem was other people. Now I realize it's probably a little bit of both.
Well, you're intense in
I'm an achiever.
Achievements. Yes, exactly.
I want things a little faster than sometimes the red tape can give me.
Yeah,
and so I'm in the perfect environment because I'm in charge.
Right.
No, but really, it's like as a small.
And you can tell how
as a small growing business.
How directive and dominance is our personality, because the question wasn't even about us, but we've made it about us. So I'm trying to tie it back in here.
Okay, let's talk about our team.
No, but basically the whole point of all this is that our team has a lot of different strengths. It's not like there's one. It's not like there's one stereotypical person that is a really good fit here. So what we've really tried to do.
There's a lot of themes, though.
There are themes. So what we've tried to do is really assess everybody on an individual basis and say, okay, what are your strengths here? Let's put you where you're going to succeed the most. And we move people around constantly. And we have people floating around trying different stuff. In the core role, like
the warehouse folks, they all rotate every day. You're not even doing the same thing all day long.
Yeah.
Same with customer care, whether you're answering emails or order processing or on the phone or writing notes or whatever it is they're doing. It's all shared and rotated. But there are some strengths, and folks gravitate more towards the things that they're good at. Of course, that makes sense.
Yep. So that said, some of the things that make somebody successful here at Goulet, we like to have people that are a little more green. We want somebody who, it's not necessarily a steadfast rule, but we're not afraid to take somebody with little work experience and kind of mold them and train them into our way of doing things. It's almost a little bit of an advantage to do it that way because the way we operate is kind of so different.
It presents
you don't want
its own
everybody like
challenges,
that.
too.
You don't want everybody like that, because then it's like, you know, you want people with some, you know, previous work experience. But the people we've had with previous work experience are usually coming from a place where it's not as great a company to work for, and then they end up coming here and they really appreciate.
But sometimes there's,
here.
You know, a bit of a culture shock too. Sometimes
it can be. So that's a little thing. But basically, so let's see here.
Team player.
The teamwork is huge here. Huge. Work as a team. That's one of our values. So that definitely came out really strong with everybody, because
and the way we rotate,
the way we've grown, the training that we're constantly doing, you know,
backfill each other,
doing these profiles and assessments. You know, it's, you know, we're in e-commerce, so we get orders 24/7, and we only work Monday through Friday. So when we have orders coming in all weekend and it comes in on Monday, it's like mad rush to try and get as caught up as we can on a Monday. So, you know, but then as the week goes on, things get a little even out and all that. So like, in order to be able to make that happen, we have to cross-train a lot and throw more people on the order fulfillment side of things at the beginning of the week. And then towards the end of the week, we're having more meetings, we're doing more catch-up kind of stuff. So like, in order to be able to do that, we have to have people moving around all the time, be flexible. That's part of our values as well.
Yeah.
So that just naturally, that just seems to us to be a natural thing, as opposed to like, your job is to write notes all day, or your job is to
that'd be awful.
Your job is to pack orders all day, and that's it. And if you can't do it, then forget you. We'll get somebody in here and replace you. That is not how we operate.
No, a lot of variety. So being part of the team is absolutely key.
Yeah, team players, self-starters. That's another big one. Our company's young. It's growing. It's a lot of opportunities.
Bring ideas to the table.
We need people who are like, hey, you know what? The way we're organizing this shelf back here doesn't make any sense.
I really think
it could be better this way. It's like, great. Tell me how it should be done. Go do it.
We always have a question. You know, why? You know, yes. Why is this done? And if your answer is because that's how we've always done it, not good enough.
That's like bell goes off on our head. Well, we've done it that way for Okay. Rethink it.
Why?
We constantly
make sure it's still the best thing.
Constantly do that. So high moral character and trust. That is so pivotal around here. Trust is our currency. That's another one of our values. I honestly wasn't even thinking like, I'll just say the values to answer this question. But as I was thinking of notes, I was like, man, the values really are all kind of straight coming out.
Care, empathy.
Exactly. But the high moral character is really important because, you know, we don't have metal detectors that we put all our team through. You know, this is like we own the company. This is our life savings that we have on these shelves. And, you know, these products are all ones that the way we consider it is these are your products that you just haven't bought yet. So they belong to you. We are just stewards of these products, taking care of them until it's time to ship them to you. So for us, it's like we have to trust our staff. They have to trust us. They have to trust you as customers. You as customers trust us. Trust is everywhere. It's flowing. Trust is a currency, right? That's where that whole idea comes from. So we need people with really high moral character that we can trust, because we don't want to have watchdogs, getting worked up, watchdogs going around and saying like, oh, have you packed this many orders this hour, and are you walking fast enough to go and pull this thing?
It's the same thing with like folks like checking their cell phone or things like that. Like or like monitoring computer. I don't want to be a police dog. I don't want to monitor your browser and what you're doing.
It's very inefficient.
I trust you. Yeah. You got it, and it goes both ways.
When you build trust, it creates a lot more efficiency. You know,
it does. And then the last thing I'd say is probably detail-oriented.
Yeah.
There's so many details here. We're not just taking some random box off a shelf and just, you know, willy-nilly shipping it out. Like, we really, like, the converters that we sell, they don't come to us with labels on them. It's just like a big bag of 50 or 100, however many come at once. So we take the time to bag and tag. We call it bag and tag. So put them in a plastic bag and tag, put a label it. So that way when you get your product, first of all, we make sure we pull the right one, because converters can look alike after a while.
Yeah, when you have 20 different types of converters. But that you make sure you got what you ordered.
So like that's detail work, because it matters, because we care.
Exactly. Or when we get something in and, you know, a box has changed, or something like, you know, the Black Swan and Australian Roses that just changed last week. We caught that with
one of our guys doing up ink samples, and he just kind of held it up, you know, just 2 milliliters. But he held it up, he's like, this looks a little more purple.
Yeah, one of the guys on our warehouse team, Ben, he was doing ink samples, and he noticed just from the color as he was sampling it that it looked a little bit different, and brought it to our attention. It was like, holy heck, how did you notice that? Like, that's amazing. And then it like set off this whole chain, and it's like, now the world knows about that because Ben noticed it. You know, that's pretty awesome. pretty awesome. And that's not something that you can just put in a manual and train away. That is a character thing and the detail orientation.
Yeah, so detail, care, trust, team.
Basically, look at our 7 values, and that's pretty much what makes somebody
flexibility.
Man, we've
Someone
answered...
who's got a good balance of structure and flexibility.
Rachel, we've answered 2 questions so far. Man.
Moving on.
You and I are,
all right, this will be a fun one. Next
okay.
one.
Tristan N on Facebook says, does the GPC have some internal competitions we do not yet know of? Like who can disassemble and reassemble the Ahab the fastest, chair races, that kind of stuff.
Haven't done that yet.
So we don't, we're not a super competitive environment here. We're really team oriented. And
actually, in our strengths finder, only one person had competitive as a strength.
Out of all 23 of us.
She's like, what the heck? I don't have anyone who'd be competitive against.
I was like, isn't it ironic that there's only one person that's competitive and they have no one to compete with on their competitiveness? So I guess they'll just always win. But no, we're not a super competitive environment around here. We're really not.
It's so team oriented.
Yeah, and that's kind of reflected in just the approach we take about business in general. We're not out to like take anybody out or be.
Oh no, there's room for all of us.
We're not trying to beat out someone else. Our own standard and the way that we feel it should be done. That is where our competitiveness comes in.
That being said, there are times we do have some fun here.
Well, yeah, but they've been fun kind of competitions.
Yeah, fun competitions. So every year for our anniversary, which is November 15th, that's like our unofficial...
17th.
17th.
Right?
Yeah, sorry.
17th.
November 15th is when we met.
Right.
That's our anniversary.
Right.
17th is our anniversary. Oh, it's close.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting old. Like, I should know this stuff. November 17th is our anniversary. So we're coming up on 5 years. But for the last couple of years that we've had employees, at least, we didn't do anything with just 2 of us.
Team members.
Team members. Since we've had folks on our team, we have been doing some office Olympics for our anniversary. It started out, it was just our team of 5. And
it was really Drew's idea because Drew loves that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've all watched The Office and, all that sort of stuff. So we did it 3 years ago. It was just our team of 5.
Yeah.
And then we've been doing it each year since.
Uh-huh.
Last year, there were 15 of us or so?
15,
16 of us. So we organized, we had all kinds of games. We did... shooting water into a vial with an ink syringe. So like filling the ink syringe with water and then the ink vial.
Could get the most.
The ink vial would be like far away, so you had to like try to get as much in as you could.
Kind of like a carnival game. It was a hot mess. I think the person that won got anything in the vial. I think we had set it too far away.
Yeah.
But we'll learn for this year.
We've done an ink sampling speed test, so who could do the most ink samples, in a certain amount of time, which, then we had to take
one was close.
We had to take some points. We had to deduct for like caps that weren't all the way on or spills or things like if it wasn't filled all the way up, things like that.
Yeah.
That was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Drew has what's called an airzuka.
Yes.
It's this like big black plastic thing with this like clear, I don't even know how to describe it. Basically,
I wish I'd grabbed
you pull it back and it just shoots a blast of air.
A burst of air. That's all it is.
Which is pretty intense if you're pretty close to it. So we've done things like putting a cup on a head and having someone try to
that's what we did. We did a William Tell kind of thing. I think Drew had a cup on his head, and somebody had to try to like. So
meanwhile, he's getting like hit in the face, and so he has to like.
Right.
It's his incentive not to drop the cup.
Right.
So
yeah.
If you saw, we just recently posted like a time lapse video of our warehouse. So in our warehouse, we have a couple levels because we've adjoined some adjacent properties, and they're at different heights. So we have our warehouse where the products are, and then there's a couple steps down to where we pack and where we QC everything. So making sure that everything pulled from order is in the order before it gets packed. And we have kind of a makeshift ramp in order to get to that table so that you're not walking up and down stairs all the time with all the products. Right. So we did a silicone grease shuffleboard. So basically standing at the top of the ramp and taking our little silicone grease little vial things, and we made some. We
like taped off some little like targets and stuff like that, and you had to slide the silicone grease down the ramp and try and get it in the targets, and whoever got the most
without
points,
like going off the table
got the most points won. Yeah.
We did Lamy box Jenga. So there's actually you have one right there if you want to grab it. Those Lamy Safari boxes we stacked, probably like 40 high, and we had teams of like 4 people each. So basically we had like 5 minutes for them to do Jenga as best they can, so taking it and restacking as high as they could without it falling over.
Yeah, that was
I think falling was the thing that happened the most, but there was a clear winner. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We've done guess the swab, so doing an ink swab and guessing the color. We've done guess the pen, so like a macro photography shot of like just the nib or just the clip and trying to guess it, and then like various pen trivia.
Yeah.
We've had some eating contests too.
Well, we don't really do those so much anymore.
Yeah,
but
it almost ended badly.
Well, okay, so there's kind of like this inside joke about cowtails, right? The candy cowtails. Yeah, like a lot of people are like, ugh, cowtails are so gross. But some people here just like really love them. Like Sam loves cowtails. So Drew loves to challenge people when it comes to eating gross things.
And you love challenging yourself. You have a history of this.
I have a history in my childhood.
We won't go into
in my childhood
details.
of eating challenges. But anyway, so this was years ago, actually, like 2.5 years ago that we did this, I think.
We were in the old space.
Where we had a competition to see, we had each person have 8 full-length cowtails, and whoever could eat them the fastest wins. No reward or anything. It was purely just bragging rights.
So they decided,
which that doesn't really sound like 8 cowtails. Like, that's not that bad. But those things are dense.
Not eat it one at a time, but as a bunch.
You could do one at a time, but we all decided to bunch it up because it was very impressive.
So it's like
this big log of cowtails. So yeah, I urge you to try that. It's kind of
No.
If you're like, that's not that hard, try it. It's pretty hard. It's a lot of sugar at once.
A lot of people
it starts to taste pretty gross after a while. Yeah, Randall almost chucked at the end of that thing. Like he was
but then
not.
Randall was not finished other people's.
Yeah, Randall was not looking good. I only ate half the log, and I was like, I'm too old for this.
I was getting mad.
I'm a dad. I can't do doing this.
I was like, guys. Please stop before you get sick in the work. I was like, trash can?
Right. But Sam won. Sam won a competition. Yes, he did. And he did the John Cena can't see me thing as a celebratory maneuver. He's a big, wrestling.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Guy.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, that was that question.
All right, Dan E. on Facebook said, most of the decisions we make in life, the kind that help define us, the kind that we defend, these are challenged at some point. Very profound, Dan.
I know.
Now there are 2 basic types of pleas or arguments that can be offered in defense of anything, emotional and rational. When making these decisions and defining your values as a company or family, was the process rational, emotional, or both perhaps?
So I can tell you the answer right now.
Yeah.
Gut. Decisions based on our gut, which I guess you would call emotion. See, emotional to me sometimes can be irrational. And rational implies no feeling involved or morality or things like that. It's just you're just looking.
I think it's a blend.
Making decisions from your gut, and we talked about the disc. Brian and I are very high D.
Yeah,
very decisive,
very task oriented, very rational thinking people.
Well, very high D is someone who is. I'm not saying they're a quick decision maker, but they rely on their gut instincts.
Yeah.
And that's how we've grown this business for a long time, is based on our gut instincts, and thank goodness we're aligned.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm an avid reader. I've read over 40 different business books in the last year. Well, so it's to the point where it puts so much rational kind of stuff in my brain that it becomes a gut emotional kind of reaction when I need to make quick decisions.
Well, here's our rule about these big decisions. If you don't feel at peace in your spirit, it's not right.
Then don't do it.
Or wait.
Yeah. It's that simple.
Yeah. I mean, if it feels wrong, if it feels if it doesn't feel right.
If something doesn't sit right, then wait on it, talk about it more, talk to other people,
get more input. Don't do it, even if it seems like the opportunity of a lifetime. So
in that respect, it's really both.
Follow your gut.
It's really both, yeah. But
or your heart, if you will.
Talking specifically about the values, though, I would say it's really kind of both because, thinking the process of defining the values was somewhat emotional, just we had to getting down to the root of why do we really care about this? But then
we had to then be rational.
To be rational about the process and the rational about why do we need to define it? Because most people don't try to define their emotions and why they feel the way they do.
Well, if it was just emotional, it would have been 1,000 words longer.
Right.
But the rational part allowed us to boil down to simplify, keep it clean.
Exactly. So, but he's talking specifically about being challenged.
No, it says most of the decisions we make in life the kind that help define us, the kind that we defend.
These are challenged.
These are challenged at some point.
Yeah. So, specifically about being challenged.
And then it says now there's 2 types of arguments that can be offered in defense of anything.
Okay.
So,
I hope we answered this question right.
I don't know.
That's all we're getting at.
Just as long as you're at peace in your spirit, then move forward. But if you're not, then don't.
Yeah.
If it's yellow light, seek more guidance. Then use more rational,
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to take a leap of faith, even if you don't feel easy about it. It's that discernment. It's that really hard to tell. Like, okay, do I feel uneasy because I'm scared, or do I feel uneasy because something is telling me this is not a good idea?
Well, like in the early days,
discerning between the two is really tough.
When we started this company, we'd only been selling ink and paper, not even pens, for 3 or 4 months before you decided to leave your full-time job with our newborn son and our mortgage, with no paycheck drawn in this business, to try to grow it. That was really not an entirely rational decision.
That was the biggest leap of faith we've ever done. Now, that also being said,
there have been several giant leaps of faith we've taken.
Actually have a history of quitting jobs without another job lined up.
True.
But
you're a very rational person.
But God's always provided.
Right.
Because I quit on that act, like it was that point where like I was trusting it. It was a leap of faith to trust that something would be provided for me, and it was, and everything's obviously okay now. But there were lean times.
Yeah.
It's
really a blend between the two.
Anyway, this can go down a whole different path.
Dan had a second question. So I'm going to my first pen show next month, the DC Pen Supershow.
It is next month.
Will the GPC be represented there? So one thing is that this show always falls right on our anniversary weekend, our wedding anniversary.
Our anniversary is August 12th, so it's like right before.
Right. Well, this year it is, but every other year it pretty much falls like right in the middle, and so it's like, oh, we're gonna celebrate our anniversary at the pen show again, which is fine. But no, the pen show, like to us, has special meaning because it was where I had my initial like epiphany about 2009.
5 years ago, you attended.
I attended, and it was like it just opened my eyes to just fountain pens as a concept. Right? It wasn't the show itself that it really was, but it was like,
hey, there's something here.
Yeah, there's actually a community of people that are into fountain pens. Let me explore this more. It wasn't through the fountain pen show circuit that we started,
any particular
that
vendor,
we really found
like
our route, but that was kind of the initial eye-opening, right?
Now, then we started our business that fall.
We did.
And we did the show the next year as vendors. We had 3 tables, and I know we've talked about this before, and I'm sorry, but some people haven't heard. So we had 3 tables. We didn't have pens at the time, so all we had was ink and paper. We didn't even have Noodlers
at that time. Yeah.
We launched Noodlers right after the show because we couldn't handle that.
So that seems like forever ago at this point.
I know. I can't believe Noodlers was ever a debate for us. Like it's such a core part of our brand now.
Like you go back and look at the blog post I did like mid 2010. It's like, we hear that Noodlers isn't safe. Should we even carry it? It's like so ignorant now.
Poppycock.
It's so ignorant now to think of how little we knew. But it's fresh in our minds. So it's like, man, when people ask us that question, it's like we can empathize. Anyway, so
we did the show. It was insane. We had the 2 of us. We had my sister helping us out, your friend Sam.
Yeah.
I was still like nursing our son who was
he was
7 months old. So I like go pump, and it was ugh. Yeah. And so it's like my bathroom break was like deal with that instead. So the show was insane.
It was crazy. It was a lot of work.
It was so much work.
Trying to run it in tandem with having the website and then having inventory that was both for sale online and at the show. It was a lot. Even
it was so much work, and I don't want to say it wasn't worth it because that makes it sound like shows aren't worth it. Because I think there is a benefit to shows.
Oh, absolutely. But we're not in the vintage stuff.
Well, and even if we first of all, if we went to the show, I don't even know how we would choose what to bring because we could fill the whole ballroom if we wanted.
We really could.
But that's insane. We have to run our website at the same time, so I don't know how we'd manage inventory. So that's one thing. But the other is we're an online. I was like, where's it going? We're an online retailer. Like that's our specialty.
Yeah.
Doing shows in person is not what we're good at. It's not our strength.
It's not our strength.
Brian and I, here's the secret. We're doing this whole camera thing, and maybe it's more true for me than you, but like we're introverts.
I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
We're introverts.
We are.
So I love meeting people at the show because I think it's a great opportunity, but it drains me. So like to do the show for the whole weekend.
It's exhausting.
I'm there's extroverts, you define introvert and extrovert. Extroverts are energized by being around other people. Introverts are energized by their alone time.
Alone, yeah.
We are totally introverts. So we can do the social thing, but it's not our natural state, and it becomes very energy draining.
So doing a 3-day show for us, we need like a week to recover.
Well, while we're trying to keep our site live and the inventory and all that. So anyway, what we have found for us...
It's not that it can't be done. It's just that...
it's just not for us.
Yeah.
So what we found is
splitting our priorities.
We attend. Usually Saturday. I think we'll be there Sunday this year too.
Yeah, probably.
Just to talk, because that's the other thing. When you're working the show, You got,
you're talking about the products the whole time, and you don't get to really get into it.
And you're transacting, so you got money and things flying around. You're trying to keep track of inventory. Yeah. I just want to talk and meet people.
And you rarely get to leave your table either. So
yeah, you don't get to see all the other
You want to go
stuff.
network and see all these people that you know of, but
so
you don't have time.
So it's great for us to meet with our vendors, like some of our distributors and manufacturers. We always have dinner with Brian and Andrea Gray of the Edison Pen Company. That's a standing tradition. We alternate each year who pays.
Yep.
We always go to Cheesecake Factory.
God,
this will be the 4th year.
It's that red velvet cheesecake, I swear.
I'm gonna try this year.
You should get in on that.
I didn't think I liked red velvet till recently. Now I gotta try it.
You've recently discovered the beauty of red velvet, my dear.
I have. So anyway, we'll be there in attendance, and maybe we'll set a time, like, hey, come meet the Goulets in the lobby at 3:00 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we've done that in years past, and it's worked pretty
so
well.
that way you're not like, where are they? I can't find them. That way at least there's like a set time if you want to come talk to us. Not that like we're big celebrities or anything, but like if you. No. I mean, how often do you get the opportunity to meet people face to face? Like for us to meet you and you to meet us. So, maybe we'll do something like that.
Yeah.
You're talking about taking a Bender's workshop.
Yeah, we're considering that.
Drew will be there. Drew's going to come.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask us all the time, like, are you going to be in the Raleigh show or the Dallas show or whatever? And it's like, no, there's a lot of different shows across the country. If we were to do the shows, we'd be traveling and all that stuff. We wouldn't be sitting down doing videos like this.
Well,
you know what I mean?
More importantly, they're over weekends. We'd be away from our kids.
Well, yeah. We have young kids. And
now that they're in daycare and preschool, our weekends are that much more precious.
We work hard when we're at work, and then when we're at home, it's family time. Period. You know what I mean? So that's just it. So we're never going to be big in the pen show circuit. We'll tell you that right now. Don't get your hopes up. We do DC because her parents live there. We can kind of make it into a little family
And the
trip.
Metro line's going to be open in time.
That's true.
Which is so exciting. There's a stop literally right in front of the hotel. And a Walmart they just put in too. So it's going to be so convenient.
It'll be very convenient.
I think attendance will be good this year. And I encourage you to go. Yes. And I'd love to talk to you.
It is a cool show. You should go if you've never been. But for us to work the show, we just can't do it. All right.
Just can't.
Matei F. on Facebook said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much is integrity as a company important for you?
10.
So.
Is there any other answer?
Well, it depends. If 10 is the highest, then yes, it would be a 10.
Oh, okay.
Didn't
10.
say whether it was high or low. Oh yeah, but I'm assuming 10 is high.
I was like, how can I was just thinking about this. How could anyone answer otherwise?
Integrity is like a 7. No, I'm just
what is that? Like, how can you even do that? Like, of course it's a 10. Like, it's not even a question.
Well,
for us.
I'm reading the question behind the question, which is, if integrity is so important to you, why isn't it spelled out in your values, right?
So
that's what I imagine most of you are probably thinking, is like, okay, if integrity is really that important, why don't you say it?
Same with authenticity,
genuineness, that kind of stuff. So
even stewardship was something we talked about putting in for a long time.
Stewardship was big, and we were going to put it in, but we decided not to. Our personal faith is a huge reason why we do what we do, but we didn't put it in the values or anything. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that we really wanted to put in, but we didn't, because we tried to make it concise and really just get to kind of the bigger, broader things that really cover everybody.
The themes and the essence behind it.
Right, but there were certain things like integrity and authenticity that
were on the table for a while.
We felt would be way too easy to become a platitude by saying it. And we felt that everything else that we were talking about covered it already, and that we were going to live it out and show you how we're authentic and show you integrity by what we're doing and not have to say it.
It's like declaring yourself a servant leader. I'm a servant leader. It's my title. Like, okay, no, you live it out.
Well, like, humility is a big part of what we do around here. But to say, like, we are humble, that in itself is not humility, right?
Well, that's where
to tout your humility, it's ironic. Right?
That's where the gratitude came in.
Right, gratitude. So there's a lot of things that we talked about, like integrity was one big one. Trust is our currency. Care, be honest, that's in there.
That's all part of
integrity. A lot of these things are layered in there that cover integrity, but we felt like just saying like integrity, live with integrity,
it becomes a cliche.
Yeah, it was way too easy to be.
But the answer is, the simple answer is 10, absolutely, no question about it. If you ever feel that we are lacking in integrity in some way, please let us know, because that is not at all like what
Well, sometimes we do get accused of integrity things, and usually it's because of a misunderstanding of something that goes on.
But like it is,
we'll always clear it up.
Utmost importance.
And lately in Q&A, we've talked about some things that are some pretty tough things to talk about.
And there are some, some things that like we can tell you most of the information, but there's still some proprietary things or, things that, it's not that we're not trying to be honest, but it's the
without
best,
the proper context, it's
the best
hard to
thing
understand.
for the relationship to,
Right, exactly.
Don't want to get anybody in trouble and,
You're making it sound so much like
we're
a bigger deal than it is.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, we're more than happy to like freely share information that we have about how we do things, but we can't speak for
on
others.
Behalf of someone else.
And we honestly did get some questions about our values and like how they relate to other companies and that seem to have different values. And it's like, but if another company hasn't like publicly spelled out what their values are, we're making assumptions on what their values are.
And you're making assumptions based on what you feel, and it's just not fair for us to
publicly make a statement about like our values align with this, that, and the other. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus with a misinterpretation that I'm having about their values. You know what I mean? So we chose to not include that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't consider that not being honest or having a lack of integrity.
Yeah.
I would consider that like we are having integrity by not talking about something that we don't know about. Anyway. Danny on Ink Nouveau said, I was just looking at my latest invoice from you guys, and I was admiring Jeremy's handwriting. Jeremy's our newest team member.
It's 3 or 4 weeks with us now.
Yeah. It got me wondering if everyone there has good penmanship, and if it's an unconscious or unspoken prerequisite for employment. I myself have terrible handwriting. It's kind of an all-caps scrawl, but I love the way fountain pens feel and write, even though I sometimes feel like I'm using them incorrectly because I can't write in cursive. I was just wondering if I'm all alone, or if anyone on your team also doesn't write in cursive. You're definitely not alone.
And we definitely have people on our team who don't write in cursive. There's some who write in all caps, just like you. Some are neat and clean and rounded, and others are like, I need a second opinion. I can't read this.
This is interesting. This is something we hear about a lot.
And some people's cursive is terrible.
It is terrible, but you know what? My cursive was terrible.
Well, even Jeremy from day one, 3-4 weeks in, I've seen a tremendous improvement.
I mean, it's
Alex
the kind of thing.
too. Everyone knows her handwriting. It's because of the practice.
The reason that these are called writing instruments is because instruments require practice to be used properly. You wouldn't pick up a trumpet and try to play it and say, man, I just can't play trumpet after 2 hours. You play trumpet for 6 months, and then it's like, okay, I'm getting a lot better. It's the same kind of thing with writing, especially something like cursive, or when you get into calligraphy, that's like a whole other level, right? But cursive is the kind of thing, like I literally, when we got into fountain pens, I was like doing the block print thing, and I was like, man, I'm picking up my pen a lot, and part of the advantage of using a fountain pen is how well it flows. And when you're writing it, it's just natural. When you're writing in a very well-flowing, smooth pen, cursive just feels more natural.
Except some letters. I just still feel really uncomfortable writing certain lowercase R's.
I am fundamentally against uppercase Q's in Palmer cursive. Like, I just don't do the 2Q thing. I just do my own little O with a Q squiggly thing through it. It's weird.
I often write with a hybrid.
I honestly just try not to use words with uppercase Q's,
I did intentionally when I started doing the swabs to try to write correctly. So, I'm trying to do the R's, but I'm just like, I'm looking back at my handwriting like, ugh.
Yeah. So anyway, it's really just whatever you want to do. That's the cool thing about fountain pens. It's personal. You use it how you want. And, if you want to try cursive, just be honest with yourself and say, yep, my cursive sucks, but it's going to get better. And I'm going to practice and it's going to improve. And it will. I promise you it will. So, but if you do it and you do it for like 3 weeks and you're like, it still looks terrible and I hate it and I want to go back to block, do it, man. Do whatever you want. It's cool.
There are some pens that definitely will work better with cursive versus, other stuff.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people who write in all print have trouble with the Falcon, for example.
Right. And softer nibs are tougher to do the block print thing. But that depends on your writing pressure and all that too.
This question here.
Okay. So let's see here. Next question. For Kate D on YouTube, has the Goulet way of doing things affected, like how we both just did that.
We're going to get memed.
Has the Goulet way of doing things affected your life outside the office? And if so, how?
What does the Goulet way mean? Like, okay, I'll just say one thing, like service. And I used to work retail. I did the store thing. And I worked several different locations and dealt with all kinds of different people.
Yeah.
I think I'm a lot more aware of a lot of things. So whether it's shipping online, whether it's if I'm especially dealing with internet companies, sending an email and how they respond.
Communication.
Are they just giving me a rote form or is it an actual person? I think I'm just a lot more aware of that. And
Absolutely.
I also think too, I've become more empathetic to the other people on the other end. Like I know what our customer care team goes through and I've been on the end where I've been really upset at a vendor. Maybe our site went down. Maybe we got billed for something we weren't supposed to. And my first inclination is to just yell at the person on the other end of the phone, who's the rep, who is not the one who made the mistake or the decision, but they're the one bearing all the brunt of it.
Yeah.
So remembering that, you know what, like, this is, you know, they're a person. They're a human being.
Yeah, encouraging them as a person and
say, I'm so sorry. I know this isn't your fault.
Thank you for doing what you do.
Is there anything you can do to help me out? You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I think it's just, for me, it's created more awareness of, well, the business being personal.
Yeah.
You know, I can tell the difference between a company that's in it for the profit versus a company that actually cares about me as a human being.
Before, I
put my dollars there.
Yeah, I never really cared that much about who was behind whatever product I was looking to buy or service I was willing to use.
Just look at the best price.
Now, because I know how hard it is to do it right, I am more than willing to pay a premium for somebody that does the communication, that has really strong values, that's really working towards a goal of kind of just bettering their business, the society in general, you know, so rather than somebody who's just trying to cut price. If somebody's just looking to cut price and I can see that there are things that are being sacrificed in order to make that happen, I will not support that business.
Yeah, it's changed our customer buying habits for sure.
It has, and sometimes we pay a premium for things because of that very reason, but, you know, that's, I guess, part of the thing where it's more the emotional than rational decisions that come in. You know,
Maybe.
If everything was rational, this dollar bottom line kind of thing, then we wouldn't worry about that stuff. But
yeah,
you know, it's not that way.
But the other stuff matters in the long run.
Right. All right. At MobyProf on Twitter. I love the service week idea. How did that develop, and what did you have to say no to make it happen? I love that part of the question, by the way.
So service week, for those who aren't familiar, any team member who's been here over a year, you know, we have a waiting period in place, gets an extra week of paid time off each year, each calendar year, to do community service, to do ministry, serve. Basically, the background behind it, before we came up with this idea, a lot of our team members are involved in ministry and volunteer work. And what we found...
That's part of the high moral character thing. You know, we naturally are more involved in that kind of stuff.
We started out with 2 weeks of paid vacation. And what we were finding is they were using a week of it to do service work. So they weren't getting the rest they really needed for that vacation coming back to work.
In fact,
actually more work.
Those weeks are often more draining than actually coming to work. You know, if they're at Young Life Camp or going, you know, doing ministry, vacation Bible school or something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
it's draining.
Yeah, exactly. So
not to say they don't work hard here, but it's definitely not a vacation.
Well, it's a whole different type of...
It's not a vacation.
Different type of draining, I guess.
So we're trying to figure out, like, okay, like, we want to support these things.
Yeah.
But we want to have, you know, their vacation. What do we do? And then I think it's through Dave Ramsey.
It was Dave Ramsey does that. He calls it a ministry week, but we call it a service week. It's the same concept, though. It's basically, you know, we view this business as
a ministry
in a way. So we are stewards of all the business, the money, everything that comes in, the goodwill that comes in towards our business. And we view that we need to use that responsibly. We personally are so tied into this business that we don't have the ability to go and volunteer, you know, and do ministry and stuff ourselves.
We do a little here and there, but we just, frankly, do not have the time.
Right. It's something that we are looking forward to at a different phase of life, but for the time being, we're seeing the most effective way that we can use our gifts is in this business to develop leaders, to serve you as customers, to have conversations about values and stuff, and just really enhance people's lives. So for us, we viewed it as our good stewardship of the good business that's coming into us is to pay our staff to go out and serve their community, and, you know, the local community, their church, their whatever, the animal shelters.
Like Goulet Pens is the unofficial sponsor of Young Life in the Richmond area.
Yeah, we got a lot of young lifers here, absolutely. So, but
it's a great applicant pool too.
Yeah, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be like faith-based things too. You know, it could be animal shelters. It could
Habitat
be
for Humanity.
Yeah, serving food at the soup kitchen kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. Like all of that stuff is good stuff, and we want to support that.
Yeah.
So it's been very well received, and we're actually going to be starting something on the blog here soon that's going to publicly share.
2 have completed. A third is in her week right now.
Third is in her week right now. But to answer the second part of your question here, what did you have to say no to make it happen?
Well, there's two.
There's the financial aspect of it.
Yeah, the two sacrifices. One is the financial. It's a paid week off, so they're not doing work. We are paying for them to not be here. So there's the
part
financial
of when you're buying a product and you're thinking, oh, I can get it cheaper on Amazon. Yeah, okay, maybe, but that's because they're not doing that kind of stuff. They're financially, we are committing our personal profits to pay our staff to go and do ministry
and benefits,
and that is just something that doesn't make sense on the bottom line. It's really something that we do by our gut and what we feel we should do.
It's the right thing to do.
That's for us, that's how we feel.
The other flip side is we are a small business and a small team. So when somebody isn't here,
it hurts.
We all have to fill around them. Some positions, in the warehouse, we have 12 people, I think, in the warehouse. So if one person isn't there, it's a lot easier to absorb. But when our inventory guy isn't here or our community manager, our social media person isn't here, and they're kind of like the only one that does what they do, then it requires a lot more effort to backfill behind them. Even customer care, just being short one person is,
it's tough.
Everyone has to, and that's the team.
We feel
that's the team aspect. Everyone has to jump in and share the load. So it's the same as a vacation. When someone takes a vacation, at least we know that, it's one thing, if your coworker's off at the beach, you're like, oh, I have to do their work. It's nothing okay, they're out serving people. Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So really we're happy to do it because, and it goes all the way around. So, everyone can take their turn during their week and we all fill for each other. So, yeah, financially and backfilling the work, it is a bit of a toll.
Those are the biggest sacrifices.
It's not really saying no, it's just those are the sacrifice, the compromises in order to make that happen.
Well, honestly, we had to cover for 2 people recently. Alex is on her service week this week. We have had to cover all the social media stuff, had to cover in and kind of help out more in the customer care team.
Because she's been helping them.
Because she's the most senior one there. So we personally have had to give up all of our nights and most of our weekends for these last couple of weeks.
And you haven't been able to do as many videos.
I haven't done as many videos. I'm behind on a lot of my emails.
We are happy to do it because we care about our team and we care about you and making sure you have the same level of service and everything met. So, I know sometimes we get a bit behind, but we're trying.
We are always trying our best.
We're always trying.
Yeah. So there you go. All right, James B. in an email said, Brian, one thing I would love to see more about is the choices you make for updates to your website. Such prosaic matters as what video camera you use, whether or not to use professionals for filming, and just how you learn to do all the wonderful things you do.
What's prosaic mean?
I don't know. I should have looked up ahead of time. I don't know if that has been or could be a part of one of your Q&A sessions, but I'd be the most interested. Okay, so I'm going to just interpret your question here a little bit as to talking kind of from a values fundamental standpoint, doing the videos, the production. I could go into the technical aspects of the production. That stuff really doesn't matter.
You can do that in the comments.
That stuff really doesn't matter that much. I use a 4-year-old Canon 1080 HD camera that we bought when our son was born.
I think my parents gave it to us as a Christmas gift.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They wanted us to have a video to film our newborn son. Actually, it'll be 5 years this Christmas.
And the business kind of ended up taking it over. Well, we got iPhones now, so that's where all our videos... Our kids are at the age now where we pull out a camera to shoot it, and they stop doing whatever cute thing they were doing anyway. So it's I'm not lugging around some extra device just to get that. Anyway, so I've got that camera. We've got a simple line microphone that's taped right here that is helping our audio. We use everything Max, we use Final Cut Pro for our stuff, but in the early days I used iMovie on my laptop, I got some simple lights set up here that are just compact fluorescents with a bed sheet in front of it to diffuse the light. That's about it.
My sister was a digital video major and then went to photography school, so she was able to coach us a little bit with some of that, the video editing stuff.
Some of the stuff in the beginning, but honestly, iMovie... It's
a lot of self-taught.
iMovies, I pretty much just dove into iMovie and started doing it. That's about it. And it's just been learning by doing right there. And there's definitely, for the first several years, I was doing everything myself. Creating the content, filming it all, editing it all, publishing it all.
We've never used a professional. Everything that we've done is through you or our team members.
Or our team members, yeah. Which,
our
Tyler...
kind of are going professional.
Yeah, Tyler now is, he's a professional, so he has his own business aside from working here. And he's moving to do that full time here in a couple of weeks.
But he had just graduated college when we hired him.
Right.
So it wasn't
But it wasn't. We have never like outsourced it to another company or anything like that. Not that I'm like fundamentally opposed to that, but
same with the photography. Same with much of what we do.
Yeah.
There's very little that's outsourced. There's things like our web hosting. Some of like the more complicated
professional
stuff.
services like CPA and lawyers and stuff like that.
Well, I manage most of our books, but our CPA does review and files the taxes for us each year. So like, there's little things here and there. Payroll services, things like that.
Certain installation of certain IT related things we've outsourced, but we're
for the most part, we're pretty homegrown.
Pretty DIY around here, but that's okay.
It's in our blood.
So yeah, but basically the fundamental thing of like, the whole filming, recording thing, I've always been of the mentality of it's more important to get it out than to
have it perfect.
To have it perfect. So I would rather get it 90% there and record 3 videos than to spend that extra 10% to get it what I feel is perfect and only get 1 video out.
Yeah.
That's kind of always been the mentality.
Always do more. There's always something else you could do.
Sure. And we have stepped up the quality quite a bit over the years.
Because we have help.
Because we have help and because we've just learned what not to do over those years. But we are constantly thinking like, oh, it'd be so cool to do this thing. Oh, but is it really worth it? Is that really going to add enough value? Or would it be better to just shoot an extra video on this topic? So that's constantly part of the conversation. All right.
One more question.
Here we go. Michael P. in an email said, your new values do not focus on fountain pens in particular, but generally on supporting individuals in their writing experiences. Given this, it seems that your new values would support selling ballpoints, roller balls, and other writing instruments. Is this something you're considering for your company? Fantastic question.
And here's the thing. Here's the truth. It did say fountain pens up until
the last week before we approved it.
The last couple drafts.
It did.
Part of why we decided to change it wasn't that we are immediately changing anything.
No.
But we also wanted the potential to be able to branch out later on if we wanted to. I think a lot of it goes back to the phrase enhanced writing experience, right. Or, all those who seek to enhance their writing experience.
Sure.
It actually trues back to our pen making days.
Yes. That's the thing is when we started diving into, it was really when we were trying to define our purpose. Because our purpose for when we started the company seemed to be so different than what it is now because we've grown so much. We had it in the house with our kids and now we have all these other people that are involved.
I don't want to limit where we're going either, but we also want to focus.
No. Yeah.
So it's like
so as we were diving back and like really just pulling back the layers of the onion.
Why did we get started?
I mean, oh gosh, we had so many conversations where it was like, what are we doing with our lives? Why are we here? Literally just like these deeply introspective things. That's the rabbit hole you start to fall down into when you're trying to, in one sentence, describe why you exist.
So anyway, pen making days, we'd get these kit pens from the store, and they had these, mediocre ballpoint.
They had junky ballpoint refills.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
No, they were junky. They were terrible. They were just like Taiwanese, Chinese, whatever refills that would come in these kits because they were just selling the kits and the refills and after
Yeah, it is. So
for us, we were selling
I don't even know why we were prompted to do this, but we bought like Parker
gel rollerball
refills and swapped them out when we sold our pens.
Well, they came with ballpoints, and I would spend the time making these pens, turning them. It would be this beautiful thing, and we'd go to write it and was like, "Oh, this is terrible!" Like it was about the writing experience, and that's always been like from the very beginning, before we defined it or even reflected on it. Just by our gut, using a nice pen and writing with it, we were like, this is terrible. We gotta get a better. So we searched out to find the best refill, and for that particular style of pen that we were talking about, was that Parker gel refill, the twist kind, and I still love those refills. They flow great. They run out quickly because they're really flowy.
That's what would help sell the pen. People try this, be like, oh, this writes so well. I love this pen.
And it's beautiful, and you got a cool story. We'll buy it.
So we've always been a fan of the rollerball, just on a
Never really been big into ballpoints.
Yeah, I don't like the whole like drawing the circles to get it started and that sort of thing. So, but rollerball is like, I love ink. You guys know that. So just like the flow and just like putting a good thick line down. You can get different colors.
Yep.
And so we've always enjoyed rollerballs. We use Pilot G2s all over the shop.
We do.
Like, I'm sorry. I know it sounds hypocritical, but you know what? Fountain pens aren't always the best tool for the job, or they might not be the most practical, or if you're just checking a box here or there once in a while, having a fountain pen might not make sense.
Right, or if you're using like carbon copy paper and you got to press through multiple things. I mean, I am a fountain pen lover through and through.
Oh, it's our first love.
And
it's our passion.
I use it 99% of the time.
Yeah.
But I am not so diehard that I'm going to use a fountain pen in impractical ways. A fountain pen is a tool, you know what I mean? And I view it as a tool. And if it's not the right tool for the job, use a different tool. Like, that's how I view it.
Okay, all that being said, we don't have immediate plans. We've dabbled here and there. We've talked about it. We don't feel now is the right time. However, it is definitely something we're considering. I think rollerballs for us would be the first thing we would probably pursue.
Yeah.
Just the enhanced writing. There's a lot of fountain pens you can get in rollerball, so it seems like a natural thing. And like if you're giving a gift, you love fountain pens, but the person you're giving for and you want to kind of a gateway sort of in. A rollerball is a good kind of way to transition over.
Our battery's going to die soon.
Ballpoint's not so excited about. We're considering calligraphy. I mean, who knows? Either way, we wrote it in such a way that we had options, as long as we're truing back to the enhanced writing experience.
Absolutely.
So it's intentional.
We believe that the fountain pen is the most enhanced writing experience, but for some other people it might not be, depending on your medium. So we left it a little bit open to crack the door just so that we would have the opportunity to think about
without changing who we are.
Right, but fountain pens are definitely like, who we are at our core.
That's not going away. Yeah. That'll be the bulk of what we do.
So
anyway, battery's dying. So
battery's dying, so hopefully we get the end of this thing in here. Next week we're going to do, I don't know if you'll be here for the next one. Probably not.
I got interviews next week.
So next week is going to be episode 41. It's going to be an open forum, so we'll just take whatever questions you have. Leave it in the comments, leave it on Facebook, whatever, and we'll get it. But hope you guys have a great week. Hopefully this was something useful to you here. I know the
tangents.
Values are all touchy-feely, and we just touched on all kinds of different things, but really the whole point of this is for us to better share with you who we are, why we do what we do, because as Simon Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And that's really true for us.
Start with why.
Start with why. So have a great week. Hope you enjoyed this one. And right on.